All right. We're back. We're continuing to go. The summit. I hope everyone's having a good time. Let us know in chat. What do you guys think of the last talk? Are you excited for this one? How you feeling? Throw in an emoji, throw in whatever you want. We just want some excitement in there. There we go. Excited for Asher's session. I'm
But
excited
you
too.
guys have to tell on Victor because I saw the last part of it. Are we running late because Victor was talking and monologuing in answer to a question? Is that?
Is that what happened?
But in a good way. We love him. He gives really thorough
Yeah,
answers.
exactly. I know it's like in the first talk, I'm like, all right, Victor, rapid fire, let's go, let's get through this. We got 35 questions, 2 minute answer, But you can't stop Victor when he goes full Victor, and he's always dropping knowledge.
My
Well,
favorite
great.
is in the last one I heard him go, okay, I'm going to speed this up a little, but then he's still giving as much detail. And content wise, we love that about Victor. And his recording will be available. But I see, okay, there's a lot more people trickling in now.
This is yeah, this isn't actually the keynote. This is just a roast of Victor who's not on here, and
Victor,
he
we love you.
can't defend himself. But anyways, welcome everyone. This is the keynote. We got Asher on here. We're pumped. And let's dive in because we're going to be talking about rewards. Get into
Let's do
it.
it.
Sounds like kind of a small thing, right? But there's actually a lot to it. And that's why we're going to be dedicating this whole thing to talking about that. And of course, we'll have Q&A at the end. So if you don't know who Asher is, well, you're missing out, but you're about to get to know him right now. Asher is Kickstarter's new head of games. Started back in February this year. Got to meet him as well. Asher's awesome. I can attest to that. And he brings a decade of experience in tech from leading operations and product at a Y Combinator backed action camera company to developing immersive digital experiences for tabletop RPGs at Alchemy RPG. With a passion for helping creators increase their visibility, Asher has worked closely with game makers to amplify their reach, having moved 13 times before age 12. When I first read that, I was like, what?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy right there. Could be a whole story there. Well, he's learned to adapt, connect, and find community everywhere, an ethos he now brings to supporting game creators on Kickstarter. So, Asher, we're pumped to have you here. And
Stoked to be here.
hell yeah, let's dive in. All right. So, we're going to be talking about rewards, everyone. And let's get into the first question I have for you. What are they? How do they work on Kickstarter? And why are they more than just a price list?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, very simply, rewards are little packages of
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 joy.
of yeah, of joy of your creation that you share with your backers. It's not just a price list. It's not like you're going to go to Gamma and it's going to be the exact same thing as your SKU sheet, right? Your sell sheet. Your reward tiers are little packages of increasing value, going from a very simple like supporting tier all the way up to what I call like a kitchen sink tier, which is like, here's everything that we're offering with this game. Get everything that you could ever want, and everything in between. And it's a way to help your backers and fans understand what you're all about, what you're making, and why you should support them in some ways.
Yeah. And I mean, to that point, it's like you can have all these little packages of joy, right? And yeah, I feel like you can go kind of wild with that. What do you think are the amount of reward tiers you should have? Is like 3 to 5 the sweet spot, or fewer, or what do you
Yeah,
think? Or how do you think about that in general as
yeah,
a
it's
game creator?
It's a really good question. So before I was at Kickstarter, I was in RPGs and I did like a little bit of digging into the top 50 RPG campaigns of all time. What I found was most of them centered around seven. But what I'll say is it's really dependent on what your goals are. Kickstarter can serve as a lot of different things. It can be the thing that you are using, the funding that you're using to bring your game to life, which is incredible. And it's like where Kickstarter started. It's the ethos. For some people, it's also a go-to-market platform, right? It's a way to introduce your game to the world, but that is already maybe more developed than if you were going to Kickstarter for the aforementioned reason. So it's really dependent. I think some folks, 1 to 2 is totally great. I do think 3 to 5 is a bit of a sweet spot because it gives optionality without introducing analysis paralysis, right? We don't want to go too many tiers. Otherwise, people will get confused, not really know which is best for them. So, yeah, generally speaking, 3 to 5 if you have sort of a more robust campaign offering. But if you're just trying to get a game made, don't feel like you have to come up with 2 more tiers, 3 more tiers, 4 more tiers. I think it's really dependent on what you're trying to do and what your goals are for your campaign, which is a
Okay.
bit of a non-answer in some ways.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, it's a good answer, and we can get more deep into how do you choose those different ones. What's the differences between those. We there's like this concept of like a hero tier, being
Yeah.
kind of like the main one that you're really counting on people purchasing, let's say, or backing,
Yeah.
excuse me. And so, what makes a strong hero tier, and is that like
Yeah.
the first thing that they should be thinking about, or creators should be
Mm,
thinking about?
yeah. So when I think about, to add a little bit of context, when I think about reward tiers for campaigns that I've run or anybody's campaign, I want to focus first on my costs, right? My COGS, understand what those are, where my highest margin items are. But that hero tier is your value packed tier that as people are scrolling down the options, they're like, okay, this is the $35 of the base game. Okay. What's after that? Like, what could I get additionally? And there's maybe one more tier and you're like, okay, but what else? Like that's a little more, but I have a little bit more in my pocket. And then you kind of want to, you know, smack them with value. I say, like, if you can pull something up that's like this perfect tier that's right in the middle, it's the Goldilocks tier where there's just like, wow, this is an incredible value. This is exactly what I'm looking for, and it's exactly what I need. That is your hero tier, and that's the game, is like figuring out what your value proposition is, where it is strongest, and aligning that with that sort of middle hero tier.
And so on that as well, because you're talking about, thinking about your costs, you mentioned that first. So in addition to that, I take it, you're thinking through what are all the different things that I could,
Yeah.
I have to basically play with when it comes to
Hmm.
putting together these different rewards.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe like let's take a step back even and think about that. It's like how are you piecing these together? I mean, you've already said, I guess, maybe with RPGs, you said 7 might be the sweet spot,
Yeah.
but don't go too crazy. But
Yeah.
I guess how do you think about that? You have all these different things that you could play with, these puzzle pieces,
Hmm.
and then how do you actually go about planning that as a creator?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think every campaign, again, is going to be a little bit different, in that you'll be creating something different, but also your audience is like so niched, right? Like I see I see TK in here with Galactic Cruise. Like that's a very specific, it's like a high aesthetic game, with a ton of value, but it's also a little heavier. So what he offers is going to be different than what, somebody else who's running maybe an RPG campaign with a bunch of accessories. And what I would say is, if you're early on in your creator career, you've done one campaign, this is your first campaign, maybe your second. Um, don't get too spun up by like, we have to offer so many different things and there's got to be all of these different variables. Think about the greatest experience that somebody could have playing your game. What do they need? I made a critical mistake. We made a critical mistake at Alchemy when we ran our second campaign, our first and second campaign. We decided we love music. We're all kind of audiophiles, and that's really important to us. And one of the sort of critical mistakes that we made was like, we want to make vinyls. We want vinyl records of the music that goes along with our RPG to be in the campaign. Turns out two things are true. One, vinyl's super expensive to make. Two, not many people really care about vinyl in the grand scheme of things. And so that really hurt us because we weren't really thinking about like, what's this incredible experience that we could create for people. So, our costs suffered as a result. So I think it's not worth it to just think of everything that you could have and then create that. Rick Rubin is a record producer, real famous. He wrote a cool book called The Creative Act, which I think a bunch of creatives in here might like. But he calls himself a reductivist, right? An artist comes to him with this music and he says, okay, but what are the key elements? Like, what do we really need to include here, to make this song exactly what it should be? And he's a he's very, very good at that. And I think that is what we should all aspire to do. Put your mind in the mind of a backer. What does it take to create the best experience to play this game? That's your hero tier. Have maybe a couple of extras that you want in the larger tiers. And from there, organizing those puzzle pieces, like which goes in what tier, it's all about value. Like, how important is this to the game? Like the base game is always going to be like the core of the game. If somebody wants it, it's going to be great. They're going to have a good experience. That hero tier should be like, what is the excellent experience? And then those higher end tiers are going to be like the maximalist experience. Like I want to be fully immersed in whatever it is that I'm doing.
So something that you said in your example that you were going to be doing a vinyl with it. It's interesting because it makes sense. I mean, you had logic obviously to why you were thinking about doing
Right.
that, but that wasn't actually a core component of the game experience in general. So is that general advice, or would you give that as general advice to not add, let's say, items that do not actually benefit the main game experience as rewards?
Yes. I mean, um, I am a big proponent of service. Like when I'm at Kickstarter all the time, like what I'm saying is like we need to be of service to creators. Like, that's our core, that's core to my being. It's like I have to be of service to people that make. And I think if you're a games creator, it's important to me to have the mentality of like what I make needs to be in service of play. And I think the music in my example was so important to the play. Like music in RPGs is a huge deal. What's less important is the medium of that music. You know, we sort of created this sort of niche that we wanted to fit this music into that I don't think in the end was entirely necessary. And so if I were going back and I were being really critical of the offering that we were putting on the table, I would say, okay, it's really important that we have music, but delivering that digitally just makes more sense to people. It's easier, it's a lower barrier to entry, and it will create a better experience for people. And so if there's something that you're really passionate about, that you really just want in the game because you're a maker and you want to create something and you want it to be cool, I'm not discouraging you from doing that. But what I would caution against is doing something that's like too high cost or too logistically challenging. Again, especially if it's like your first game, second, you can keep it simple and still provide immense value to people.
Let's talk a little bit about like strategy when it comes to consumer psychology or regarding reward tiers. So thinking about things like price anchoring or having like a decoy type reward or exclusivity. Like how do you think about these, let's call it strategies, these pricing strategies, and how important are they? Which ones do you think maybe don't perform as well versus other ones?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, you will hear a lot of varying answers. You'll hear from some seasoned creators one thing, and then from me, another completely, and then from another seasoned creator, another entirely. I would say that what's really important is that you are continuing to keep people scrolling so that they see all of your tiers. What you don't want to do is stop somebody. So when I think about like when I was, working in technology, I'm a tech bro in recovery, as I say. When I think about like those experiences, the thing that we talk about a lot is frictionless experience. Like we want your buying experience to be entirely frictionless. And where those tiers exist, how they're priced, what's in them, is a huge point of friction. So like for instance, when I'm building a set of tiers, generally speaking, what I want to do is I want tier 1 to be X, and then I want tier 2 to be X plus Y, and then tier 3 to be X plus Y plus Z. What I don't want to do is have tier 1 be X, tier 2 be Y, tier 3 be X plus A, some other thing, because that's going to make people scroll back and forth instead of like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. There's a little bit more and a little bit more. And so I think It's not that I am suggesting, or I think anybody is suggesting, that you sort of manipulate your audience by pricing in a way that, leads them in the direction that you want them to go. It's just about how you position the value to the right person, because everybody will feel a little differently. When we talk about like a decoy price, decoy tier, for example, sort of that would be one that sits between, say, your economical tier and your hero tier. You're sort of, when we look at games campaigns, we know the most successful ones that do over 500,000 tend to have an average pledge value between 80 and $125, right? So when I look at those, that sort of decoy tier is just a mid-value tier. It's just like, here's the base game plus a thing. If you want a little bit more than the base game, but not, you don't need everything. Great. Here's something that has value to you as a consumer. And then that hero tier will have more wide appeal because it will be so sort of jam-packed with value. I don't necessarily think that makes it a decoy or deceptive in any way, but it does create a meaningful experience for buyers that can say, like, they are, every backer is Goldilocks, right? Just trying to find the right bowl of porridge, oatmeal, bed, whatever, and making that easy for people is really, really important.
And when you say hero tier, a good example of that would be like an all-in tier.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Is that
yeah,
is
yeah.
that what you're
Okay.
is that what
So,
you're
so
is that
we are, yeah. So when I think about a hero tier, it's like my featured. Like if I was
yeah.
going to take one and call it a featured tier,
Yeah.
my hero tier might not necessarily be my all in, but it's going to be the one that is highest value for the price,
Got it. Yeah.
as opposed to an all in. So I'm glad that we differentiated that, because our definitions of those are just barely different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also the way I've thought about rewards in general, if I'm going to like boil it down to some like the most basic ways of thinking about it, in terms of strategy, on Kickstarter, I feel like you typically see either a discount based
Hmm.
strategy, and this is much more popular outside of games, I would say
Yeah,
in general.
totally.
And you would have more of a like a value stacking to your point.
Hmm.
It's like each one, X, then X plus Y, then X plus
Yeah.
Y plus Z. Could you speak to that a bit more? I guess
Hmm.
discounting in general when it comes to pricing strategy
Hmm.
for games.
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons? And in your experience, does discounting work or not?
Yeah, that's a great question. When we look at something like um, an early bird tier, discount for early bird, super common. I think it's a very mixed bag for me. I'm actually not convinced that it works, but I don't, it's so hard to see what does and doesn't work at scale, because every campaign is a little bit different. But I think something like an early bird tier, which is back within 48 hours and you'll get X discount, I think is maybe less effective than something like a VIP gift, right? Like a free thing that you get, for two reasons. The first is that the discount, if it is limited in quantity or time, it that tier will sit at the bottom of your Kickstarter page for the rest of the campaign, and people will scroll down. If you're building your tiers well, they're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and they're going to see those, and they're going to say, "Oh man, I missed the deal. I guess like it's just not good enough a deal anymore, so I'm going to walk away." And that could not be the case. But because you've decided to make it a discount in a limited quantity, you end up setting yourself up for a situation where you might have backer attrition. Like you might have a cart abandons, is what's like e-commerce, what they call it. But you might just have people not back for that reason. And so that's anecdotally, I have seen and heard that from creators. I don't have firm data. I think as just like a normal pricing tiers, I think when I think about running a campaign, it is the first part of the journey for your game. It is your go-to-market strategy is to use crowdfunding, to use Kickstarter to introduce your game to the world. Those early adopters are so valuable to you. If you can manage it and your costs are aligned, having a discount over what you will see when people are in distribution and the game is in retail is really great. And I think it is valuable. And I think that you should celebrate that fact and explain that to people that, like, hey, we really appreciate your early support for that reason. We're going to cut our margins so that you can get a better deal on this. I think that has so much value. What I want to avoid doing is taking that discount and using it in some time boxed way such that people will feel like they've lost out by, mid campaign.
Right. Right. I feel like you see a lot of chatter online about that as
Yeah.
well. Meaning from, I guess, backers and creators
Yeah.
being, very aware of when that's happening,
Yep.
and that feeling not being something that is making
Yeah.
them want to actually go forward and back the game. So it's something to really be aware of. Um, because I'll say for us, like we've been doing this for a long time, and it was when we were focusing on tech and design categories, early bird, VIP rewards, all these things, that
Yeah.
type of discount stacking is a very typical pricing strategy that works. It works really well, and it doesn't seem
Yeah.
to have too much of people just don't really mind, right? There's
Yeah.
actually like almost like an excitement of trying to get in early type of thing, where it's just a
Totally.
different consumer in general, and that's something
Yeah.
to be aware of.
Yeah, well, and there's a different amount of optionality that exists with big like technology and design Kickstarters are generally speaking very unique. Like right, like when we look at that new Snapmaker crazy like texture 3D printer thing,
Yeah,
wild. And like discounting makes a lot of sense there because what are you going to do? It's not like there's an alternative, really. It's like one of the first of its kind. And so
right,
the discount structure is really encouraging in that sense because it's like, oh, I'm still getting a good deal. And like, this is the best deal I'll ever get on this thing. Whereas in a game, I just looked this morning, we have 755 campaigns that are live on Kickstarter in games alone right now. There is a huge degree of optionality for every weight, series of mechanics, type of game live right now on the platform. And so I don't know that you want to lose that by saying like, hey, you could have gotten a good discount, but you missed it when so many options exist.
right. I was thinking I could pull up as well. Yeah, let's see if I can share my screen really quickly. I'm losing my. Here we go. You see this Exoterra campaign
Yeah.
pulled up. Just to give a little bit of an actual visual for everyone, because I was like, okay, what's that campaign that launched recently that we were helping out on that is following a structure of what you're talking about, and we can,
Hmm.
it give everyone something to actually look at here. So this is the featured or the hero, right, that you're talking
Yep.
about. Um, and so you can do featured rewards on Kickstarter that will pop it to the top. And this is their most valuable tier. It also
Hmm.
just happens to be their most expensive one, I believe, as well, 259. But if you go down, then you'll see there's a rookie pledge for
Yep.
149, which is like base game, then veteran pledge. So you can give it some fun names that are
Yeah.
on theme as well. So X plus Y, like he was talking about.
Mhm.
So this is what it includes. And then X plus Y plus Z, right? For Ace
Yep.
Pledge. And then the Hero Pledge or the Legend Pledge has 5 different items as well.
Yep.
So this is an example of, and that's it. There's 4. There's no
Yep.
discounting. Value is stacking as you go up. Um, what I'd like to talk about next is add-ons. So right here, this whole optional add-ons. How do you think about that? What is the best way to uh, do add-ons? Let's say.
Mm, such a great question. I mean, God, there are so many different strategies that you can employ, right? So, like, add-ons are great. I think that you should have them if if it matches your product. Um, Somebody like Free League Publishing, like they have add-ons. Their add-ons are every game they've made, right? So it's like when you go and back one of their campaigns, you are presented with a ton of add-on options because it's like, hey, you're supporting me now. Why don't you check out this other stuff we got going on? Especially if it's like an expansion, that's really useful. So in that case, if you're like an established creator who has other stuff, there's no reason not to have the other games that you've got in add-ons. Especially when we look at like the buying experience, it's so much easier. Like you've already made the decision. Here's some other stuff that you might like from us if you're into this.
Right.
But in other ways, if you're running a simpler campaign, don't arbitrarily make add-ons, right? It's all about your campaign and what you need for you. Um, you know, so I think they're great. I encourage the use of them. I don't think it's a lot of people will limit certain add-ons to certain tiers, and I'm not that does not encourage people to buy at a higher tier, right? In my experience. So if you're thinking about doing that, consider why it is. Now, you could just have a limited quantity, or you only want people with sort of X, Y, and Z to have this experience with these add ons for whatever reason. There could be some constraints that you have. But I wouldn't arbitrarily lock them to tiers because, again, frictionless buying experience. They've already said yes. They're breaking out their wallet. Providing them an opportunity to support you even further is nothing but a good thing.
Hmm. When it comes to add-ons, is there ever a reason where you would have items that were only available as add-ons that were not included in any of the reward tiers? You understand
Mm.
what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, the first case that I mentioned, obviously, like other stuff that you make, have it as
Right.
an
Like if
add-on.
you have another game in that
Yeah,
case, but yeah.
yeah,
Okay. But if you're
exactly.
a
Like that.
first-time creator, let's say.
Yeah, if you're a first-time creator, I would ask the question. I think it's important to ask yourself the question why you want that to be the case and to really justify it to yourself and make sure that you can. I think that in a lot of cases, running a Kickstarter is hard, right? Like there's so much to learn, there's so much to do. It's such a huge process with so many different steps. I think that if I'm being realistic, what I really need to do is critically think about every decision that I make. And that's going to take more time. You can't just throw that together in one go. But I would wonder, like, what is my motivation to do that? Why is there not enough value in this add-on to have in a tier? Because I will necessarily have fewer quantity of it sold, which is likely to increase my cost of goods sold, which is going to decrease my margins meaningfully. And so if I already have like some backstock or I've already made this thing and I've got some extras, great, throw them in as a limited quantity add-on available to people, and if you sell them, fantastic. But I wouldn't arbitrarily or without very good reason have an add-on that's not available in the general campaign.
Yeah, I can't really think of a good good reason either. I was just curious looking at some of
Yeah,
these
totally.
these. I'm like, all right, is there actually something that I might not know? Let's talk about stretch goals.
Yeah.
Um, are they important? First off, curious what your thoughts are.
I'm not sold, if I'm being totally real. That might be a super hot take, but I am not sold. I think we've seen a couple of people do some really interesting stuff. What's funny is IV Studio, great example of a company that makes incredible games with like really great fit and finish. I call them like the Apple store of like whenever you see their booth at a show, it's like an Apple store. Um, they because they don't have stretch goals, they have to call their games pre-stretched to explain to people all of the deluxe components that they've put into their game. And it works really, really well. And it doesn't seem to have a major impact on their return. So I think the functional reality is that if you are making this thing because you want to see it come to life. And there are things genuinely that you want to do that you can't until you hit certain funding milestones. Absolutely strive for and celebrate those goals with your audience. That's huge. Kickstarter backers, more than any other purchaser that I am aware of, want to see creative projects come to life. Like they really desperately want that to happen and they want to support you. So they want to celebrate and be a part of that journey with you. But if you are in a position where you are looking at these and saying, I want to add music to my game. I'm probably going to do it anyway, but I'm going to put this stretch goal in here so that people are encouraged to buy. I don't think that at scale that actually moves the needle because like, we look at them, maybe you have a $10,000 goal. It's like one of those arbitrary goals. You have 10 grand and then, you have a $50,000 stretch goal that you're going to hit. I'm not convinced that a backer is going to look at your stretch goals and say, oh, they're $20,000 away, so I need to put 150 bucks in here to move that needle. Like I'm not convinced that that does anything motivationally for backers, but that's anecdotal.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not convinced
Yeah,
either. I've seen too often, that I feel like people stress too much about stretch goals and
yeah,
thinking that they need to have
totally.
this, really well thought out stretch
Yep.
goal, structure, and they think that that is going to be one of the main drivers
Hmm.
of getting new backers or keeping them excited.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that to be the case.
Mhm.
And I would just, um, warn against going too deep into it, thinking that it is over indexing, let's say, on the importance of it.
Oh my God.
In
Same.
yeah, in
Again,
general.
yeah, crowdfunding is so hard. Like you're going through so much, you have so much to do. Focus on the pricing of your tiers, focus on the immersion of your page, focus on your design elements and your language and your messaging and your creatives. Like that's going to move the needle so much more on page than stretch goals that it's stretch goals would be a nice to have at best for me.
Yeah, let us know what y'all think in the chat as well.
Yeah, very
I think there's
curious.
some people that, yeah, really, really think they're super, super important. And again, like I think Asher and I seem to agree on this, that it's not like I have incredibly hard data to support that. It's more
Yeah.
of just experiences of seeing people stress so much about it. I'm like, I don't know if this is actually moving the needle that much. So I think that's more what it is. At least that would be my message, is just not going too deep
Yep.
into it, because it's
Yeah.
probably not that important. It's definitely not going to move the needle as much as, to Asher's point, just getting the rewards to be simple, I would say,
Yep.
focused on value and having clear differentiation between them. All right. Let's talk about fulfillment and logistics a little bit.
Yeah.
Fun topic as well. That can be a
Super
whole
fun.
rabbit hole. I mean, we have a whole talks on that today. So,
Good.
um, I guess like when it comes this, in some ways to me is related to the stretch goal topic, because it's like thinking through the downstream effects of, in terms of stretch goals, that the downstream effects of having to support all these different things that you're unlocking.
Mhm.
So when it comes to reward tiers, like how do
Yeah.
you think that, you know, manufacturing, packaging, shipping complexity, how should that all be thought about in relation to reward tier strategy?
Ooh, that's such a great question. Um, First of all, be super cognizant if you're like including things like art in your campaign. If you're making something poster sized, I know from personal experience, don't, because your two options are to fold the piece of art so that it fits in a box or put it in a tube, which triples the cost. I think that is to say, be really careful about all of the things that you're including, because logistically speaking, some things are easier to ship than others. The vinyl's another great example, really non-standard size. There's just so much happening with when you have a vinyl and art and when we look at like, have you ever ordered something online and it's a tiny thing and it comes in a huge box? Of
Yeah.
course, we all
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Uh, that is not an accident, or it's not because those are the boxes that are available, right? There is very complex math that goes into how many boxes can fit inside a container with very little space and maximize efficiency. In a container, in a truck, in a plane, whatever, there are industries, multiple of people that are just working out that math. And when you introduce too many facets that are abnormal or strange, or they're just the wrong size when they're all together, it can exorbitantly affect your shipping cost. And you have to be really pragmatic about that from day one. And that's not even necessarily to say like don't ever do an art print, right? It's just like don't do a poster size art print. do a smaller one, right? Or one that you can roll up inside of the right size box. If you're looking at like making dice, perhaps don't make dice that are in a package that is really huge. Maybe do something a little slimline so that it can fit aside your game. Um, Expansions, maybe don't necessarily put miniature expansions in larger boxes. Put them in small cellophane or something like that, you know? Be really pragmatic about what you're including to make sure that your weights stay low, and your dimensions stay low. And I mean, like, if you're talking about RPGs, that's going to be really heavy, but it could also go in media mail, which is something to consider. So yeah, you just have to be really pragmatic about what it is that you're doing and actually think about things like packaging before the campaign goes live, or at least be aware that that's going to be a logistical challenge that you're going to have to solve for after the campaign. And it's going to be harder than you think it is.
Yeah, most things are in general. It's like just a blanket advice.
Yeah.
Almost always is harder than we think.
100%.
What's your thoughts on charging for shipping during the campaign versus after?
Don't do it.
Don't do
I
what?
mean, generally speaking, like,
don't do either. No, I was kidding. Yeah.
yeah,
Which one?
yeah,
Which one?
just eat
Don't
the cost.
eat the. Yeah, yeah.
No, don't charge during the campaign is generally speaking my recommendation, especially if you don't have a manufactured game. Look, if your game is in production or in containers when you launch your campaign, fine, charge shipping, whatever. For 90% of the people that are listening to this, probably, if I had to guess, that's not going to be the case. You are going to have to make the game. And if we know anything from the past 5 years, from the past 90 days, the past 6 months, and the past 5 years, really, I think we should all have learned by now that shipping changes day to day. And most of the time it's relatively minuscule, but sometimes it's huge and it makes a really big difference. So charging for shipping during the campaign, while the best customer experience, right? The best, most uniformly understood buying experience. You go to a website, you buy a thing, you pay the shipping, done. It is perhaps not the best customer or like actual customer experience for Kickstarter because we have seen how poorly it works out during the pandemic. We watched this happen unfold live. Somebody's like, hey, I have to charge you guys an exorbitant amount more for shipping. I know you've already bought this thing. I'm really sorry. And it sunk companies. And it's
Yeah.
no joke. Alchemy, we had to eat a lot of shipping costs because we charged just a little too early. And so, yeah, cautionary tale. I would wait to charge shipping until you've got a boat on the water.
Yeah, and now on Kickstarter, you can do estimated shipping in
Yeah,
the
that's
reward
right.
tiers.
Yep. Yeah, and that's really common to do estimated shipping and reward tiers. Also very common to do the graphic, right? Estimated shipping table. You can inform backers like roughly what it is going to be, but we can't. We are not oracles. We cannot see the future much as we would like to. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and if it's not clear to everyone, you do have to charge for shipping at some point, just after in the pledge manager. So
yeah, that's exactly right.
that's the best time to do it. I was seeing if I could find an estimated shipping thing. Oh, this is a good example. I'll pull up the Exoterra again. We can see this. This is also a good example of a estimated shipping
Yeah, boom. There you
graphic
go.
as well. So, I mean, it's fairly complex, but yeah, work with your fulfillment partners to get these and just make it really clear that, you know, in the
Yeah,
reward tier right here, shipping taxes and VAT, I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit, not included and will be calculated in the pledge manager after the campaign. So
yeah,
that's kind of the current meta. And it's a much better one because it hasn't been that way for most of
yeah,
crowdfunding. I feel like everyone
yeah,
was trying to estimate shipping costs, and I feel like it's more likely that the creator is not going to estimate them correctly than than doing it later. So this is
yeah.
a really good way to protect yourself, and I think ultimately, to Asher's point, lead to a better backer experience overall.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
over the long term.
Yeah, and to Keith's comment too, like be aware when you're talking to your fulfillment providers and your logistics folks about shipping, make sure that you're getting information about DDU and DDP, direct duty, unpaid, and paid, when you're shipping to VAT countries, because that can cause some tax implication issues. You might accidentally, or maybe without intending to, charge shipping that is, duty unpaid, which means backers will have to pay again on delivery for their product. And so you want to be super clear that you're making sure that when it gets that last mile, it gets to the backers in a seamless way, or you're setting the expectation that like this is DDU, it's direct duty unpaid, and you're gonna have to pay something to get it to your door.
So I think let's take some questions from the audience. Some people have already put some
Yeah,
questions in. If you want to keep throwing in questions, and we'll take the rest of the time to answer them.
no, let's do it.
Real quick, this one's for me, but I'll just answer it. Can Launchroom help us figure out tier levels? Yes, we can. So we can definitely help you. Uh, we'd be happy to help you. All right. Neil asks, how do you factor in add-ons like premium components in addition to the multiple tiers?
Funny enough, this might be an example where you would want to limit add-ons to certain tiers.
Yeah.
Right? Like if somebody's buying a deluxe edition of a game, you don't want to get them to buy the deluxe pieces
Deluxe, yeah,
again
yeah.
on accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just consider the tiers that are available, what tiers might want deluxe components, and consider whether or not that's something that you want to encourage people to do, right? When we think about like a premium component, you're probably going to have that included inside of the box in your deluxe edition of your game, would be my guess. Um, and if that is the case, is it worth the logistical hassle to enable deluxe components to exist outside of that deluxe version of the game for your go-to-market game? Right? Like, I'm a big fan of the concept of land and expand. Start with one thing and build from there. Like, get a firm footing in your game and then create the opportunity to buy deluxe components when I have already built out, an audience of people who have this core game. So, my suggestion to this one would probably be don't make the premium components available unless you're already going to make them outside of the box. And in that case, what is the deluxe edition even?
All right. Great question. Great answer. All right. Tedman, I like this question. Okay. So, what are your thoughts about making a great game and then start removing or reducing bits as tiers so that the starting level builds up to the great game?
Mm. I recently read an article and I wish I could credit the human who wrote it. I don't remember where I read it.
Sorry.
About game design and about how most people's first game is like way too much. It's like way too much and they need to reduce it. What I would say about this is, Tedman, I think I'm not a military kid, by the way. I saw that comment earlier.
Oh, because of the
Yeah, I
travel?
think this guy, yeah, said like,
Yeah.
"Hey, military kid,
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
you move so much?" If your base game, the $35 tier, $30, 20, 50, whatever it is not a great game, that's a problem, right? Like it's just a problem because Kickstarter is your go-to-market platform, and that's going to have a lot of evangelists, and a lot of those people are going to buy to the deluxe edition. But generally speaking, about 50% of your backers are going to back at like I just want the game or the game plus one thing. I don't want this like crazy expensive edition. I don't need it. And so I'm hesitant to say that's something that you should do because that core version of your game is ideally the one that will be in retail. It's the one that will be in distribution. It's the one that will be on your e-com site because it is less expensive to manufacture. Your margins might be a little bit better on it. And it's just the game that is more economically in line with mass market retail. And so that should be an incredible game, right? Like that should be such a great game. What we want to do is capture the excitement of the evangelists and the heroes of your product and your company. Those are the folks that really desperately want to support you. And they're happy to give you extra money for just like some gilding or some premium meeples or things that increase the value of the experience, the touch and the feel, the fit and finish, adding a game trays, stuff like that. But you don't want to hurt the experience of the economic tier so that those people can have a better experience, because you're going to send more copies of your base tier and those people need to be impressed.
Great answer. Okay. Matthew asks, Asher, so would you say it is important to lay out that discount to retail in the tier explanation on the Kickstarter page?
Tough to say. I think it really depends on what you're marketing towards. Like I'm gonna use Galactic Cruise TK because he's in here and I saw his name a second ago as I was looking at his campaign earlier today as an example. That game is beautiful. Like that game is really, really cool. And it's designed by, Tool, and it's like the fit and finish is really great on it. And the way the construction works is really high end. I think that is going to reach a less price elastic or a more price elastic group of people that are, and what I mean to say by that is they're more ready to spend more and they're less concerned about the discount they get. They just want to be some of the first people with an awesome game. When you're looking at something like maybe that's lower weight or has a sort of broader market appeal, and you're going for like accessible board game, right? And like economically accessible board game, that's the kind of thing where I think it could have value. But we're really talking about marketing tactics that have existed for like 100 years now. And, I think some people really subscribe to them, some people don't. Go with your gut. You know your audience better than anybody else. Is it important to them? And if you don't know, ask. If you've got some people in playtesting, when you're playtesting your game, say, hey, I'm thinking about pricing it at this for retail, and I'm thinking about pricing it at this for the Kickstarter. What are your thoughts on that? Like, how important is that discount to you? When you're looking at campaigns, is it important that you see that? Because that's like direct consumer feedback, and there's very little that is as valuable as that.
Ooh, that's a great, made me think of a question. I'm gonna
Yeah.
jump in line, everyone. I'm sorry. Um, how do you think about pricing? Like you mentioned, like in terms of like how do you come up with the price? Like what's the best way? Do you have a framework for thinking about that? Do you
Yeah.
research other games? What would be your
Yeah.
advice when it comes to coming up with the price in general for your game?
I mean, I have a real beautiful mind of a spreadsheet that I use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I mean, it really is, it's a combination of a lot of things. So it's market analysis. Like, what is something that's similar weight to my game with similar fit and finish selling for? It's what are my cost of goods? What does freight look like? What does shipping look like? And um, what is a reasonable multiplier on that? So there's like a series of levers that I can pull to make the game more or less expensive to manufacture and ship. And then there are a series of decisions I can make about pricing. So I really try to start in a silo and say, like, okay, here is all of my manufacturing information. Here are the things that here are the costs that I must have for exactly what I want. Can I make a healthy margin, which is different for everybody? It's really hard to say. Some people are like, you need a 6x margin. Some people are like 50% margin. It's great. Um, uh, is that margin something that I'm comfortable with? And if it's not, um, what levers can I pull? Is there a reason that I can sell this game for a little bit more? What is differentiating about it? Or is there a way that I can work with different manufacturers or use slightly different materials that don't hamper the experience, still provide a great experience, but are lower cost, right? Like the tariff thing, if you produce in a different country or you can use a different manufacturing process, there are a lot of different levers that you can pull. And so it really is kind of a holistic look. But what I never want to do is price something way outside of what is the norm for that game, above or below.
It would be so interesting to see your beautiful mind of a spreadsheet. I
I
love spreadsheets. It's a tease. All right. Great question. I asked the question. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? Sorry.
Great question, Mark.
Yeah, great question mark. All right. All right. There are a few questions about DDU and DDP. I'll say that we're not going to answer it right now, but we do have a talk tomorrow on tariffs in general with Brandon at Fulfill Right, and he'll be able to answer in way more detail as well. So look at the schedule for that one.
Yeah.
Um, just real quick, Dash is asking, do you have a business email to contact if we have specific questions at a later date, or what's the best way to talk to
100%.
Kickstarter?
Yeah. So, um, games at Kickstarter.com goes to every single person on my team. There's a bunch of us, Europe, US. Hit us up, games at Kickstarter.com. Um, that will probably get you the fastest answer because I have a million emails every day. But if you're not on something super time sensitive, I am here and I'm just Asher at Kickstarter.com. And it's really important to me. So I'm going to wax poetic for just a second. It is the generosity and time of other creators of knowledge and time that has enabled me to have the career that I have, to have a successful virtual tabletop company, to be here as the head of games at Kickstarter. I owe it to people that create opportunities for play to be available and accessible. So please email me, email my team. We all share that same ethos. I want to be as helpful as we possibly can for you. So yeah, Asher at Kickstarter.com. But if you need something relatively quickly, games at Kickstarter.com will work great.
Awesome. People are loving that in chat. All right. Also, yeah, Kickstarter Discord as well. Matthew put that in there or suggested that. All right. Tony asks, any suggestions for second editions? We made a first edition party card game to get out for the holidays last year by word of mouth. We've tested it, plays great, but we want to make some improvements, updated our additional cards, larger packaging from the poker size deck, etc.
Yeah. Second editions are great. I mean, I think if you've got a market of people who have bought your game, have played it, and are excited about it, a second edition can be a way to re-engage them, but it can also be a way to sort of relaunch, right? Like it's a way for you to talk about like, hey, this isn't our first rodeo. We have this new game. We have made the last game that we made that you might have missed on better. Check it out. And I think it's a great way to encourage people to rediscover you or to discover you for the first time, knowing that you have some cred, as it were. So, yeah, big proponent of reprints, or second editions. The thing about crowdfunding, generally speaking, is that you can't just do a reprint of a game on crowdfunding, right? There's got to be something new about it. Changed rules, no problem. Wonderful. That's a different game in a lot of ways. So, yeah, heartily encourage. Again, crowdfunding is hard. It's challenging, and so there's an ROI conversation you should certainly have. But if you've got an idea for a game and you want it to come to life, just because it's a second edition doesn't mean it's not worth putting out to the world.
All right. Any thoughts on how do reward tiers differ for more mass market games? Should we look at non-game Kickstarter projects for inspiration, or does that not really matter?
It all matters. There are a lot of threads in between every category, and you'll see that it's very different for every category, but that doesn't mean there's not value to pull. I think that like I have a working theory that Launch Boom has so effectively evangelized the pre-launch strategy in games and in technology in a lot of ways that there's like still room to grow in mid and later campaign strategy because we found this like hyper effective strategy through the email signups and like that flow. Everybody kind of indexes that way. And so if you're looking for ways to innovate, I think looking around at the entire landscape has a ton of value because we released Secret Rewards early this year. Great way to get an audience that you already have on other platforms to Kickstarter. That was a request from a technology creator because that is a way that they engage people. That was from the Bird Buddy campaign. And so, it is so valuable to look at what other people are doing because we do, to some extent in games, have a bit of a formula and like we know what can work. Every once in a while, it's really cool when a formula is totally disrupted, right? Like Launch Boom disrupted the previous formula in a way that like made it so much better for creators in a lot of ways. So I'm always asking like, how do we how do we innovate on this like mid campaign? Like I'm going I don't want to say crazy, but like I'm racking my brain trying to figure out how to convert people in mid launch that hit follow. They hit the little heart and not back. How do we convert those people? Like, what is the thing that we need to convert them? Because there will be thousands of them on campaigns, but
Mm.
we don't really consider them. We're really focused on the pre-launch folks. And so I'm thinking a lot about how we can innovate on that as an industry. But yeah,
That's interesting.
look
Yeah, that's
around.
really interesting. We'd have gotta have a follow-up talk on that.
Yeah,
Jam on
for
those
sure.
ideas. All right. Filippo, I see your questions. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to avoid them because we just have other talks that are more focused on some of these topics. I just want to let you know. So you're asking about how much of the art needs to be ready for the campaign. I would check out, especially some of the talks like tomorrow, secrets to designing a game that will get funded, or even the panel at the beginning as well, and really get into that. And then also when it comes to testing the campaign page, so we're confident about launching it. Um, that one, I think I'll just say that pre-launch to what Asher was talking about is a great way to test your campaign page without it being the campaign page. So the things that you do on your
Yep.
ads, let's say, or in your pre-launch pages, you can start to test messaging in on those pages, in the ads, whatever your marketing is during the pre-launch, and then apply that to your campaign page. So that's one of the best ways to do that. So quick answers on those.
Yep.
Keith asks, what do you think about multi-pack tier rewards?
Multi-pack tier rewards. I don't know that I fully understand what a
Like
multi-pack.
two packs or two packs, four packs or something like
Oh,
that.
sure,
Yeah.
sure, 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 sure. Yeah, depending on what it is, like if you're looking at like a TCG, sure, like that has value, right? When we look at like copies of a game, just make the base game available as an add-on and do it that way. Like there's no need to. I think the number of people that will buy like a multi-pack of a board game is low enough such that I would just have it as an add-on. The retail tier is a little bit different. I'm also kind of wishy-washy on that just because of the way that Kickstarter interacts.
Hmm.
But I think like when we look at like a TCG, oh yeah, Jen with the dice jewelry, like that's huge. Like that makes a ton of sense for Jen. And her campaign. And so like also, hey Jen. I think there are ways in which it's valuable, but you really have to think about your audience and what it actually means to them to have multiple iterations of your project.
Okay, we're gonna try to get through as many as we can. All right. 7 minute GM asks, with a book like a TTRPG rule book, what do you think of offering hardcover, trade, PB, and PDF as different tiers? Is that appealing to different budgets or diluting the message?
Mm, that's a really great question. Um, I think PDF tier has value. Um, it can be really useful. Um, Especially with RPGs, people are collectors of RPGs. A lot of times more than they are players of RPGs or game masters. So having a PDF where people can pull from, like that will increase your audience. I don't think it will take away from your physical tiers. However, I would stray against doing too many different formats. Like I would do like a digital version, a standard version, and a deluxe version instead of, a digital version, a softcover version, a hardcover version, a deluxe softcover. I don't want to go too out there with it, but yeah, I think it has value. Having a digital tier is really important to increasing the chance that people will play your game. And in RPGs, that is the most important thing that you could do is encourage people to play your game.
All right. And that was the final question because we got to wrap up here. What everyone think? I already know what you thought.
Hope it
Everyone's
was
loving it.
useful.
Let us know in the chat. Thank you, Asher, for joining. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And very, very lucky to have you here as a keynote. I had a lot of fun chatting with you as well and asking a ton of questions. And thanks everyone for your questions as well. We have a few things real quick. Remember that you can be entered to win some gift cards by giving us your feedback. So I just put it in the chat right there. So please, we read all of them. We actually do. And also, we have more talks. If I can get my screen to share. There we go. All right. So yeah, real quick. Yeah, make sure you answer that, or please do. We would really appreciate it. And then up next, we have another talk, which is going to be awesome, from idea to stacked inventory. So this is Tyler from Panda. This is going to be awesome. Obviously, manufacturing is a huge part of this, so you can get all your manufacturing questions answered there. And we're really looking forward to seeing you all there. Just click the link that I put above in the chat to go back to the schedule page and then join that talk. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Asher, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the time. It was really fun. I'm here. And games@kickstarter.com. Hit us up. We're around if you need anything.
Hit them up. All right. Thanks, Asher. Thanks, everyone. See ya.